Good day, everyone. We are Group 4 from 12 STEM 1, and we are here to present to you a discussion about the visible light radiation. And we're going to discuss it together with my fellow members, Kador Niga, Dr. Gonzaga Okada Ong, Sandigan, and yours truly, Orwella. So next slide, please.
Okay, first let's define what visible light is. What is visible light? Visible light is electromagnetic radiation detectable by the human eye. So imagine you're in a dark room and someone turns on a flashlight. The light you see, invisible light, it's a special kind of energy that travels through space that allows us to see the world around us. Just like how you can feel the heat from the sun, light is form of energy that travels to your eye. Visible light travels waves or particles like radio waves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, and microwaves. Think of visible light as a surfer riding ocean waves. Sometimes it acts like a wave, moving up and down as it travels. Other times, it's more like tiny particles zipping through the air. Scientists are still figuring out exactly how it works, but we know it can behave in both ways. It's a small part of a bigger family called electromagnetic spectrum. So the electromagnetic spectrum is like a big family of different types of energy. Visible light is just one member of this family. It has brothers and sisters like radio waves, which carry music to your radio, microwaves that heat up your food, and X-rays that doctors use to see inside your body. The visible light spectrum has seven main colors. So remember when remember the rainbows you see after it rains. That is Rogevid. That's what we call visible light. It goes from red, which has the longest waves, and all the way to violet, which has the shortest waves. So in between both uh colors, you'll find orange, yellow, green, blue, and indigo. So all colors we see are made up of these seven basic colors mixed in different ways. Next slide, please.
So let's discuss where visible light is found on the EMS compared to the other six forms of radiation. Visible light is found in the middle of the electromagnetic spectrum. It includes the wavelengths that our eyes can see, ranging from about 400 nanometers for violet light to 700 nanometers for red light. On the left side of visible light are longer wavelengths like infrared and microwaves, which we can see but are used in technologies like heating and communication. On the right side are shorter wavelengths such as ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays, which have higher energy and are used in things like sterilization and medical imaging. While these other forms of radiation have important uses, only visible light falls within the range that human eye can directly perceive. Next slide.
Now let us compare the wavelength, the frequency, and the energy of the visible light with the other forms of radiation. Starting off with the wavelength of the visible light, the wavelength of the visible light is longer than the ultraviolet, the X-rays, and the gamma rays, since the ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays are found on the left side of the electromagnetic radiation. Meanwhile, the wavelength of the visible light is shorter than the infrared radiation, microwaves, and even the radio waves, since radio waves is considered as the highest or the longest wavelength among the electromagnetic spectrum. So as we can see in the slide, the wavelength of the visible light is in mid-range compared to the rest of the EMS. It is once again shorter than the infrared radiation, but it has more energy than the infrared radiation but less than the ultraviolet. Next slide. Moving on under the frequency of the visible light is higher than the infrared, the microwaves, and the radio waves, since radio waves, microwaves, and the infrared radiation have a longer wavelength, and according to the rule in the electromagnetic waves, the higher or the longer the wavelength, the lesser the frequency wave. So it suggests that the radio waves have a lesser frequency compared to the visible light. So the frequency of the visible light is lower compared to the ultraviolet X-rays and gamma rays, since ultraviolet X-rays and gamma rays have a higher energy, indicating a higher frequency as well. So the visible light has a moderate frequency, and since the visible light composes of the seven colors that we often see, that is commonly known for the humans as the rainbow, the violet light having been the nearest in the ultraviolet, having the highest frequency, and the red light, since it will be the nearest visible light on the electromagnetic spectrum to the infrared, having the lowest frequency among all. So the frequencies of the visible light range from approximately 4 times 10 raised to the power of 14 hertz for the red to approximately 7.5 times 10 raised to negative 14 hertz for the violet. Next slide. So the energy of the visible light have a more energy than the infrared, microwaves, and radio waves, since we've been mentioning a while ago that the higher the frequency, the greater the energy. Since the radio waves, microwaves, and infrared radiation have a lower frequency, since they have a longer wavelength, so infrared, microwaves, and radio waves have more energy. No, the infrared microwaves and radio waves have lesser energy compared to the visible lights. So the visible light, meanwhile, has less energy compared to ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays, since these three electromagnetic waves in the spectrum have higher frequencies, indicating a higher energy. So energy in visible light is directly related to the frequency, meaning the violet one having the higher frequency carries more energy, and the red light carries a lower frequency, indicating a lower energy. So once again, visible light has moderate energy, and it is sufficient to trigger chemical reaction, but it is not enough to categorize as an ionizing radiation. Next slide, please.
Okay, so now let's discuss the main risk of exposure to visible light. First, we have here blue light, a type of high energy visible light emitted by electronic devices and some lighting. Can have several potential health risks. So you know when how your parents tell you not to spend too much time on your tablet or phone. That's partly because of blue light. This is a special kind of light that comes from screens and some types of light bulbs. Too much blue light, especially at night, can make it hard for you to fall asleep and might not be great for your eyes. The next one is macular degeneration. Prolonged exposure to blue light can increase the risk of macular degeneration, a condition that damages the central part of the retina and can lead to vision loss. Our eyes have a special part called the macula that helps us see clearly, especially when we're reading or looking at small details. So, too much bright light, especially blue light, over a long time might hurt this part of our eyes. It's like how you shouldn't stare at the sun. Looking at very bright lights for too long can damage your eyes.
For the common sources of exposure or overexposure, we have computers, smartphones, tablets, and televisions. Laptops, desktops, and monitors emit significant amounts of blue light, especially during prolonged use. Similarly, the small screens of smartphones are held close to our eyes, increasing blue light exposure. Tablets, like smartphones, also emit blue light that can be harmful to our eyes. Lastly, televisions, especially LCD and LED TVs, emit blue light, particularly during nighttime viewing. Next.
To protect our eyes from excessive blue light exposure, we can use different technologies and simple habits. First, blue light blocking glasses or filters helps by blocking harmful blue light while allowing other wavelength to pass through. Second, taking breaks from digital devices is important. By stepping away from screens regularly, we can reduce eye strain and limit blue light exposure. Third, using a night mode setting on our devices helps because it reduces the amount of blue light emitted, making the screen easier on our side. Lastly, adjusting screen brightness can also help. Lowering the brightness of our screen minimizes blue light exposure and reduce eye fatigue.
Now let us discuss how the visible light is being used as an application for generating the electricity in the solar photovoltaic panels, or what we call some commonly as the solar panels. So the solar panels are composed of what we call the smaller silicon solar cells that is responsible for capturing the photons necessary for generating electricity. So these silicon solar cells are composed of three silicon layers, which are named as the N-type material layer. The N-type material layer is the negatively charged region in the solar cell, with the p-n junction serving as the neutral part of the solar cell. So meanwhile, the p-type material is the positively charged region of the silicon material. So how does the solar photovoltaic panel works? So as what we mentioned earlier, so the photons that are being absorbed by the solar cells are used to generate the electrons that is necessary for generating electricity. So first, the photons are being absorbed in the solar cells that are composing the solar panels that we often use, and those photons will excite the neutral particles in the p-n junction and it will generate two particles, which are the holes, the positively charged particles, and the electrons, the negatively charged one. So the negatively charged one will eventually go to the N-type material as the negatively charged region, and those electrons will eventually move and produce the current necessary to generating electricity. Meanwhile, the holes, the positively charged one, will eventually group themselves together in the p-type material, the positively charged region, where the electrons that once move from the solar cells towards the wires and eventually to the loads, and going back to the solar cells, solar panels once again, it will eventually move back towards the holes in order to neutralize themselves. So that's how solar panels work. So once again, it will absorb photons from the sun, and the photons will excite the electrons of the neutral particles, and eventually the electrically negative charge particles will move from the neutral region towards the electrically negatively charged region towards the load, and eventually it will generate the current. And also we must take into consideration that the efficiency of the solar panels vary depending on the products and the materials used, and even the wavelength of the sunlight that the solar panels have been receiving. So next slide. So here are the references for our this brief discussion, and that would be the end of this brief discussion. We would like to offer our gratitude and thank you for listening. That's all, guys. Thank you.